All right, again, good afternoon, Team Ivy. Welcome to the July Diversity Series on Words Matter, reflecting a true sense of belonging with our communication. This week's Lunch and Learn series will be scheduled on each Tuesday of the month of July to build a better understanding of the different experiences of our students, our employees, and of our communities, and offer ways to build a better sense of belonging at Ivy Tech Community College. So, according to the Oxford Dictionary, a microaggression is a statement, action, or incident regarded as an instance of indirect, subtle, or unintentional discrimination against members of a marginalized group, such as a racial or ethnic minority. In this training, we will learn how to create awareness surrounding the common occurrences of microaggressions, explore outcomes, and discover techniques to minimize the occurrences of microaggressions and ways to respond when someone has been microaggressive. Today, I am going to lead you through a PowerPoint presentation on racial microaggressions, the definition, some examples, a quick video, and how racial microaggressions affect people and what we can do about it. And hopefully the video portion works for us through Zoom. I haven't tried that yet, but we'll see how that goes. Then we will take some time for questions, and I will call on one of my colleagues, Amber Williams, who's a faculty member and the diversity lead for the Kokomo campus, for her perspective as well. Quick housekeeping, you are all on mute for the duration of the session. If you have a question for myself or for Amber or anyone else, please type it in the chat and I will attempt to get to as many as I can during the session. I will be attempting to monitor the chat as I go on the presentation, so don't wait until the end for your questions. Also, this webinar is being recorded and will be posted on our diversity website and also the Ivy Tech YouTube channel for additional viewing. All right, so Adrian, could you please pull up the presentation again?
Can you see it?
Yep.
Okay, good.
Perfect. All right, you can go on to the next slide.
Here it is. Okay.
All right, so what is the definition of a microaggression? According to psychologist Gerald Wing Su from Columbia University, who is an expert in microaggressions in psychology, the definition is everyday insults, indignities, and demeaning messages sent to people of color by well-intentioned white people who are unaware of the hidden messages being sent to them. And it says white people, but honestly, any and everyone, we've all committed microaggressions against other people of different backgrounds than us. But today we'll be talking mostly on racial microaggressions, and then we'll talk generally about microaggressions. But as we start, just know that the majority of this conversation will be focused on racial microaggressions. Next. So there are three different types of microaggressions that we want to talk about. Microassaults, those are the conscious and unintentional, or conscious and intentional actions or slurs. Micro-insults are just verbal and nonverbal communications, and micro-invalidations are communications that subtly exclude, negate, or nullify the thoughts. And then we'll talk specifically about each one in the next couple of slides. I don't want to read through all of that. That's just three different types. So we can go to the next slide. All right, so first is microassaults. So those are those conscious, intentional actions or slurs, such as using racial epithets, displaying swastikas, or deliberately serving a white person over a person of color in a restaurant. This is what we think of as that old-fashioned racism, that blatant, in-your-face, overt racism. It's uncommon to see that in today's time. But when we see it, we know it, right? It's that deliberate, conscious, and explicit discrimination. The intent is to hurt, oppress, or discriminate with a microassault. Next. Micro insults are those verbal and nonverbal communications that subtly convey rudeness and insensitivity and demean a person's racial heritage or identity. An example is an employee who asks a colleague of color how she got her job, may be unintentionally implying that she may have landed it through an affirmative action or quota system. And typically these occur due to underlying biases and prejudice outside of awareness. Next. Microinvalidations. So these are the communications that subtly exclude, negate, or nullify the thoughts, feelings, or experiential reality of a person of color. So for example, white people often ask Asian Americans where they are born, and not even just white people. A lot of people ask other people of different ethnicities and identities where they're born, conveying that the message that they are perpetual foreigners in their own land. Next. So let's talk about a few themes of race-based microaggressions. So that first theme is the myth of meritocracy, sorry. And the microaggression could be, everyone can succeed in America if they work hard enough. So the message that we get from that, that someone could get from that, is that perhaps people of color are lazy and or incompetent and need to work harder. Pathologizing cultural values, that's the theme, the next theme, and that's dismissing an individual who brings up race, culture at work or at school. So when we dismiss someone for bringing up their culture, the message that that person may receive is, leave your cultural baggage outside. We're at work, we're at school. This is not the time for that, right? That is a message of a microaggression there. The next theme is second-class citizens. So the microaggression here could be a taxi cab passes a person of color up to pick up a white passenger, or that you people language that some people use. So the messages that we see there are, well, you're likely to cause trouble and travel to a dangerous neighborhood. So that's, therefore I won't pick you up. And the you people comment is, you don't belong and you are a lesser being. And an additional theme here for race-based microaggressions is environmental. Television shows, movies without representation of people of color. Again, the message here is, you are an outsider, you don't exist. I see a comment in the chat, how can the display of a burning cross or swastika be micro or express racial slurs, etc.? What then is a gross indignity? So burning of a cross is not really a microaggression. That's definitely what we consider as a hate crime. But displaying a swastika, depending on the situation, could also be a hate crime or just a micro assault. And it depends on, I would say, the situation and the folks that are there. But none of it is acceptable. It's all discrimination. And definitely a burning cross is a hate crime, which is punishable in the criminal justice system. Next. So we talked about racial microaggressions, but I also want to turn your attention to some examples of microaggressions that are not necessarily racial. So a gender microaggression could be, smile, you're too pretty for people to not see your smile. I know a lot of women have heard that before. I've heard that even here during my time at Ivy Tech. And the message that someone could experience from that is, your appearance defines what people think of you. And again, another microaggression under the theme of gender is, a female doctoral student continues to receive emails from potential participants addressed sir. So the microaggression there is, it's unlikely for someone of your gender to pursue an advanced degree, so I'm automatically assuming that you must be a man. Sexual orientation. An example of a microaggression here is, I like you, but why do you have to shove it in our faces? I've heard that time and time again, just in in my public, social spaces. And the message that is received there is the LGBTQ experience is offensive and abnormal, right? And another example is, so who's the man in the relationship? That implies that a normal relationship must involve a man and a woman, right? So just thinking about the language that we use shows up in how we interact with each other. And finally, another theme of microaggression here is disability. So without being asked, a man helps a disabled person board the train. The message there is, you can't function independently. You must need my help. And I'm just going to give it to you without even you asking. I see two group chat messages. Environmental can also be, let's see, TV shows where Blacks are depicted as criminal or always in poverty, yes. Religious microaggressions is when someone refers to someone as a good Christian, as if you can't be a good person otherwise, or if going to church makes you automatically a good person. Or even, someone saying, well, you don't look Jewish, right? That's also a religious microaggression. Another comment, when I meet people of any race, I often ask where they're from. No answer is good or bad, just interesting. Is that different from asking where someone was born? What would be a better way to break the ice? If you're just generally asking people where they're from, right, that's something typical in a typical conversation. But if you're thinking about truly, why are you asking that particular person where they're from? Because they look different. They don't look like they're from here. If the underlying intent is to understand their culture or their heritage, then asking them where they're from could be considered a microaggression, right? So the better question would be asking them about their culture. What is the line between courtesy and compliment in microaggression? I'm not really sure, Michael, what you would be referring to. If you want to give me an example of what could be considered a compliment versus what could be teetering the line of microaggression. And yes, this PowerPoint and recording is shared, like I said, both on our diversity website and also on our YouTube channel. All right, Adrian, you want to see if we can try the video? It's like 2 minutes long. I'll mute myself so you can unmute. We can't hear you, Adrian, but I also want to apologize in advance. There are just a couple of bad words in here, so please don't be offended. I thought generally this PowerPoint would be a good one. This video is good. It's just like 2 or 3 bad words, so I apologize.
I don't know how to make it. Pause, hold on. Can you hear?
We can't hear Adrian.
I got it. Let me see how to share computer sound. Okay, now we'll try it again.
Mosquito bites and their itch are one of nature's most annoying features. But if you're only bitten every once in a while...
No, where are you really from?
Cleveland?
Sure, it's annoying, but it's not that big a deal. The problem is that some people get bitten by mosquitoes a lot more than other people. I mean, a lot more. Whether it's on a date...
Oh, your English is so good.
Excuse me?
Going grocery shopping.
You know, everything happens for a reason.
I'm just buying apples.
Commuting to work.
So when are you gonna have a baby?
Watching TV.
We have to keep the Redskins' name. It's part of our culture and history.
Or just walking down the street with your partner.
I couldn't even tell you were gay.
Mosquitoes seem to pop up everywhere.
Do you know John? Give me shopping advice. I love Cher too.
And getting bit by mosquitoes every goddamn day.
Can I touch your hair?
multiple times a day
So pretty. Can
Can I
I touch
touch
your
it,
hair,
please?
please?
I want to touch. Can I please?
is fucking annoying. And makes you want to go ballistic on those mosquitoes, which seems like a huge overreaction to people who only get bit every once in a while.
It's just a mosquito bite. Who cares? Just another angry black woman.
Of course, beyond just being annoying, some mosquitoes carry truly threatening diseases that can mess up your life for years.
Astrophysics? Maybe you should try less challenging, Major.
Ow, my dreams.
And other mosquitoes carry strains that can even kill you.
He looked like he was up to trouble, okay? I felt threatened.
So next time you think someone's overreacting, just remember, some people experience mosquito bites all the time.
You're all so exotic. Wow.
And by mosquito bites, we mean microaggressions.
Were you able to hear that?
I think everyone heard it. My screen was frozen. It froze on when the guy's buying apples. But the PowerPoint presentation has the link to the YouTube video, so you can watch it on your own. So thank you, Adrian. But the audio was there, right? So we could hear all the microaggressions. Yeah, and it's just a 2-minute long video, so take a look at it when you have a chance. We can go back to the PowerPoint.
You should be seeing it.
Oh no, it's frozen.
Okay, I'm gonna stop share and reshare.
All right.
Tell me what you see.
It's saying that you're starting to share your screen, so.
Okay.
And Carrie, you have a good point in the chat. Although hate speech and discriminatory behaviors are disgusting to me, I wonder that people may hide their true feelings in order not to be called out. Does political correctness allow people to hide? That is a great point. We'll definitely get to that in the PowerPoint. But yeah, it's important to realize that too. So, you know, as we saw in the video, typically microaggressions are just those stinging little mosquito bites. And if we call out every single mosquito bite, then people are definitely going to be afraid to hide their true feelings, right? To really express or to ask questions for fear of everything that they say is going to be ridiculed or called out, or they're going to feel uncomfortable. So what's more important as we talk about this, and Adrian is still showing up black, if you want to try it again. What's more important is, and I allowed Amber to be a co-host if you want to try to share the screen as well, Amber, if Adrian doesn't work out. So again, what's more important is that within the organization, within the institution, that we create that sense of belonging, that everyone feels that, you know, everyone feels welcomed, everyone feels respected, everyone feels valued. So if we have that culture of belonging within Ivy Tech or within whatever organization or institution that you are affiliated with, then political correctness is, people are less, they're more disarmed, right? They're more open to talking because folks, there we go, that works. All right, so, and we'll just continue going, right? So this is along those same lines, Carrie. So when someone is microaggressed, right, it might lead to the following intrusive cognition. So, you know, one might think, well, did I interpret that correctly? Did she say what I think she said? What did he mean by that? Should I say something? Well, saying something may make it worse. They'll probably think I'm overreacting. Speaking up is going to hurt more than it helps. So if you've been a victim of a microaggression, just raise your hand in the participants box that you've thought all of those thoughts before you even attempted to say something, right? or yes, or click yes or something in the chat. Hand raise, yes, 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 yes. Right, so you're in a conundrum with your own self before you even say anything. And it might be too late to say something by the time that you've gone through all of these thoughts in your mind, right? And so, again, as we talk about creating that culture of belonging within your organization, having this internal dilemma might not be something that that affects you as much as another institution or an environment where you don't have that culture of inclusivity, right? You might think to yourself, okay, first, did I interpret that correctly? And then from there, you can ask clarifying questions, right? Jim, what did you mean by X, Y, and Z, right? And repeat directly what they said back to you, right? So if there is that culture where everyone feels included and everyone feels respected, then Jim can come back and say, well, you know, I didn't really mean anything by it. You know, what I was really trying to get at is whatever it is, right? So as long as that we have that open line of communication without one, the person becoming offended automatically, and then two, the person who is the microaggressor doesn't become defensive automatically, then we can have these conversations and get to the root of it. Let's see, there's been a lot in the chat. Let's see. As faculty, how do we gently point out microaggressions of students? We do not have tenure, so we may feel hesitant to take that risk. Thank you for that question. And you also have to think it from the other perspective. When you don't take that risk, then the other student who is microaggressed is going to retreat a little from your class, right? If they don't feel protected, if they don't feel valued, if they don't feel appreciated, then that student is going to face some isolation, right? And then if there's enough microaggressions that student faces, that student might not come back to Ivy Tech the next semester, right? So that, you know, as we think about retention, right? As we think about completion rates, microaggressions is just one small little thing that that reflects our retention and our completion and our persistence rates. So as a faculty, if you don't take that risk, there are much heavier risks involved if we don't address those things. I see another comment on a microaggression that someone experienced this week. Is she technically your wife, or do you just call her that? Wow. Okay. What else do I see? I can relate to the worry that speaking up about microaggressions would make the situation worse. Years ago, I was in a multicultural grad class and our professor was asked, where was she really from? And she did not answer, obviously she thought it was rude. The last night of the class, the student asked again and our instructor answered, knew us better and told us some information that she would never hold a certain instrument because it was a stereotype. Those of us not of that background had never thought about it. We had not heard of some of these words, so it is good to have information about this. Yeah. All right, let's go to the next slide. So as folks are having those internal dilemmas, these are some psychological consequences that could come from that, right? So associated psychological impact would be anxiety, depression, sleep difficulties, diminished confidence, helplessness, loss of drive, intrusive cognitions, those internal dilemmas, and diminished cognition, right? So if you're on the receiving end of microaggressions, one, it might not be that bad, but if it's a consistent thing that happens to you, you are going to be paranoid. You're going to have anxiety. You're going to think people are against you, right? You're going to have that heightened sense of being on the offensive, right? I mean, that's just that just comes with it. Let's go to the next slide. So here we are. What happens if I committed a microaggression? And as I mentioned before, some of the language in the definition said, you know, white people this or whatever. Everyone commits microaggressions, right? When we're talking about racial microaggressions, anyone can commit a racial microaggression, not just white people. Everyone does it. It's something that we've all said or done that we might not have intended to offend someone, but somehow we still end up offending, right? It's just, that's what it is. Sometimes we are aware of our actions, and other times it takes another person to point them out to us. If we were completely unaware that something we said or did was hurtful or offensive, there really isn't anything we can do about it. However, when we are even slightly aware that we may have committed a microaggression, or if we're confronted about it, there are several things that we can do. So I want to talk about a few of those things. So one, own up to it. Admit when you commit a microaggression, learn from the wrongdoing, and apologize. That's the hardest step. Folks don't like to admit when they're wrong. Folks don't like to apologize, especially if they think it was a small thing, right? But we've learned in that video that a small mosquito bite might not be a big deal, but if someone is consistently receiving those mosquito bites over and over, it hurts, right? And it sucks and it stings, right? And as we look at, you know, what we mentioned before with the internal dilemma, that's something that's going to happen over and over again for that person. Number two, listen. If someone confronts you in your behavior, listen to what they are trying to tell you and not try to be so defensive. And that's something else as adults that we have to start thinking about. How can we listen to folks, listen to what they're saying without automatically already being defensive, right? So someone says, hey, what you said about my hair, I felt it was a microaggression. As an African-American woman, you know, my hair is always the topic of people's conversations, but you know, we don't talk about other race, you know, folks' hair, whatever. And before you even respond to that, you're already thinking, wait. I was not trying to be offensive. I was just trying to give you a compliment, right? That was a compliment that I thought, right? So before you even get into that mind frame of trying to defend your actions, trying to ensure that they know that you weren't intending to offend them, listen to them, right? Listen to what they're trying to say. All right, and number three, be aware of your language. Common phrases like, that's so gay, right? We've heard that over and over again, especially if you grew up in the 90s, that was something that was said all the time, right? And those phrases go under the radar because people don't realize that that language is homophobic and insulting. If something is weird, just say it's weird, right? Why does it have to be gay? That's something that we all have to be aware of. And I think with what's been happening recently with the racial injustice that we've seen across the nation, people are being more cognizant about their language. But it's something that we all have to continue to do and check ourselves when it happens. And finally, education. The more that you're aware of the term and concept of microaggression, the less likely you will be defensive when confronted, right? So you've, you know, in this 101 training, right? Just understanding what the term is and the concept, and understanding that it's not a personal attack on you if you happen to be microaggressive to someone, right? Learning that it is all of those internal biases and prejudices that we all have that allows you to, that, you know, in your subconscious, unintentionally, you say things where you don't mean to offend someone. All right, we got a lot of comments and I want to get back to some of these questions. Let's see. Ghetto has become a common slang. How do we deal with slang that is so colloquial? That's a good point. And ghetto is a microaggression against, you know, both people of color and also socioeconomically. It's become slang, but it's still not, I mean, just because it's slang doesn't mean it's not offensive. And I mean, you see meme after meme after meme, like, you know, school is ghetto, or, you know, whatever, when that doesn't even make any sense, right? So again, number 3, beware of your language, common phrases. That's a common phrase. That's something that people are just saying that they have no idea what a real ghetto is, right? The more that we can, as educators, or as, you know, if you are a faculty or if you're a staff member and you hear that, it's up to us to teach other folks about what they're saying, right? I think that's something that we should all strive to do, and not be afraid to educate others, especially if it's coming from a good place. How should we address microaggressions without fear of retaliation when it comes from a colleague or a supervisor? That's a great point. And Amber, I want to bring you in as well. Can you unmute yourself if you want to start helping me to answer some of these questions?
Yes. Okay. What was the last question that you said?
Yeah. How should we address microaggressions without fear of retaliation when it comes from a colleague or a supervisor?
I think we have to come from a place of most of the time, most of the time, microaggressions, people are unaware that they're making them. And if we can build good relationships with our coworkers and people around us, then we should be able to have, you know, just politely say, right? Like, you may not have noticed. It's all about, I mean, a lot of what we say is about our tone and how we approach it. So if you come from a place of, you know, yes, this was offensive to me, but I want to come to you as a kindness of my heart so that you don't do it to another person. Like, what is that motivation of you instructing or telling that person about what happened in the room? And does it have to be addressed right in public? Can you do it to the side? Can you have a private conversation? A lot of times people are more receptive in that way. I had a situation where I was in a training and someone called me the wrong name. And then they kept trying to apologize and digging themselves like they kept digging a hole. And I kept saying, it's fine, let's just move on. Oh, but you're pretty like that person. Oh, you have the same features. Oh, your hair is the same. And it was just like, it kept happening. So, I mean, once we got past that, I wanted to have, you know, it was good to have a separate conversation later, because they were trying. I could tell that their intentions were trying, and I'm going to have a conversation. If the conversation doesn't go anywhere, then the ball's in their court, right? You can't do anything after that. But you got to sit, I mean, only you can stand up for yourself, and you have to speak up for yourself, but do it in a kind way. How you say things do matter, even when you're on the other end. I know that's hard to accept, like, man, we're the ones that are hurt. But most of the time, people really just have no clue. And so everyone should have someone in their lives that they can ask a question to, that they can address some things with. And I know that sometimes we don't know, and if you don't feel like you can directly talk to that person, maybe you have an ally in your office. Maybe you have an ally that you feel like you can say, hey, this happened. Do you mind having a conversation with this person? Because I think they'll receive it better from you. Because we should all really be about growing together more so than just trying to tear everybody down. But if they don't really know, hey, let's help them out so they don't do it again.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Amber. Honestly, everything that we're talking about is really about creating that inclusive culture, right? So no matter if you are the person who is a victim of a microaggression or if you are a microaggressor, right? We all can understand that everyone is coming from a good place, right? Typically. We have a comment in the chat from Helen. How can we provide a safe space for children to ask questions to prevent inadvertent offensive acts or comments? Once a light-skinned African-American described herself as Black. A white girl asked, "Are you sure? Maybe you had a tan and you faded." I tried to explain that the lady identified and took pride in her heritage and that Black could include many shades of skin and features. How could I have handled the situation better? That's a great question. And honestly, as we're talking about microaggressions, this starts with children, right? The sooner that we can talk to children about differences and not try to say, oh, everybody's the same. No, we have to address differences, right? If someone has a disability, right, we need to let children know what those disabilities are, that they might have a different way of doing a certain thing, but that person is no less than you or me, right? I think we all can see that and can easily do that, right, for others. But when it comes to race, that's where people kind of get tongue-tied and not sure what to say. So the more that you can help children understand, and I think what you said was perfect, right? Black is more than just your shade of your skin, right? It's a whole culture. It's an entire people, right? I think you handled that situation right. Amber, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah. No, I think you did well. The only other thing I could add is if you're in a situation where you can allow the person to speak for themselves, to start a dialogue between the two people versus you explaining for the other person. I'm not saying that was the situation, but if people do find themselves in situations, especially like in the classroom, where someone might have said something, it's okay to kind of say, hey, can you explain yourself further? And then ask another student, like, that's probably not, is that okay for someone to say that? How did that make you feel? Because we want to make sure that you're okay. And start a dialogue between the students. I've done that before, so not speaking, because speaking for another person in some situations can also be a microaggression.
All right, I want to do something different. I know we have a lot of things in the chat, but I want to give people the opportunity to speak. So I'm going to clear everything from the participants. If you would like to actually speak, raise your hand, or yes, or whatever you want to do, and I'll be able to call on you and unmute your mic. Oh, Christina, there we go.
So I don't mean for my question to seem sarcastic, but I even have kids that are in college, but very much intertwined with social media as a device for dialogue. And we're starting to see what I perceive as microaggressions as a way to combat discriminatory behaviors. Labels, hashtag labels. I personally don't embrace them. I feel like some of these labels are innately wrong. But again, how do we deal with social media playing a role in handling microaggressions? Is it helping or is it perpetuating?
So, and that goes back to what we were talking about earlier about, what happens when I commit a microaggression, or when I am microaggressed, how do I respond? Social media is just ridiculous, right? In every way. And we have this cancel culture, right? When someone says one thing that was discriminatory or microaggression, that we just cancel that person. You know, I've seen it time and time again. We're not giving people the opportunity to grow. We're not giving the opportunity to learn from their mistakes. And cancel culture is just ridiculous. That's something that we shouldn't take a part of. And I think, and I've seen in social media that people are now taking that stance, like cancel culture. We're canceling cancel culture, right? Because if we go back to it, if you are a victim of a microaggression, if you are not able to not be offended automatically and ask for clarifying information, I'll also send some resources after this, or I'll add it to the PowerPoint so that you can have it. Different ways to work through microaggression if you are a victim of microaggression. It's a toolkit for those who have been a victim of a microaggression. But what we also know is that microaggressions can turn into a pattern of discrimination, right? So we don't want to dismiss a microaggression, right? Especially if it's something that continues to happen. So like I said, you have to pick your battles, one, right? You have to determine, okay, is this something that I need to address right now? You can't address any and everything that happens to you because that internal dilemma is going to continue to play. You're going to continue to have anxiety. You're going to continue to be paranoid if you are not attempting to see the different variations of what could be, right? So cancel culture, social media, it's ridiculous. It's not helpful usually in having dialogues. As long as, and the only way that social media can be helpful is if both parties agree that this is a welcoming conversation. One, so you can hear me out to hear how I'm feeling about it, and two, I can hear you in knowing that you did not intend it, but that also that you've heard that it was offensive to me, and we can move forward together, and that you are now more educated on what happened. Amber, do you have anything? All right,
yeah, you covered that well.
We'll go to Mary Jo.
Hello, thank you for this. Inevitably, I have a student in any one of the classes that I teach who has some type of either cognitive or emotional disability, who will say something that's just truly hateful or racist in class. How do I address that while also helping that person still feel included and help the class understand that we know this person may not have a filter?
Amber, I'm going to give that one to you since you are faculty.
Okay. When someone says something in class, I think it's important, I kind of said this earlier, don't ignore it. Don't let the moment pass by, because the longer you let that pass by, the more that sits right in that student's heart, their mind, their thinking, it gets embedded. Now they're angry. Now, you know, all these things are happening. So you really want to stop it when you can. And I believe that being direct and open is really important. Asking people, what did they mean? Can you clarify that? Because a lot of times people will say things flippantly, and that's not really what they meant. Now, I do believe that we oftentimes as a culture, we favor our intentions over our consequences. We say, you know, well, as long as I didn't intend, that's all that matters. Well, if you hurt somebody, it still matters whether you intended or not. But you want to ask a clarifying question. And if still again, when they say it again, it comes out the same, then it is your job to address it is your job to address. And that's why we have to equip everyone. We need to equip people more with the ability to address those tough conversations, because they don't just come naturally all the time. And then address the student. Again, ask, how did that make you feel? Is this offensive to you? And if you don't want to talk about it now, we can talk about it later. Follow up with that student that might have been hurt later. Don't let that go by. I had a class where a teacher, now we're saying students here, but teachers say things too. Teachers say things too, and students say things to teachers. Being a Black instructor, a Black female instructor, I mean, I've had students say a lot of things to me in the classroom. I was using the example of not being able to find Black dolls as much for my daughter around Christmas time, and someone tried to argue with me that that was not true, and that wasn't my experience. And I had to, again, be willing to have a dialogue. We have to put ourselves down and our ego and our thoughts. And yes, I'm smarter. Maybe you feel smarter than everyone in the room, but you have to bring it down to having a dialogue so that we're all learning. And when you can address it as though you're trying to learn in the situation as well, that really can be helpful. Now, what do you mean by that? Can you explain that a little bit more? Because I'm not clear on what you're saying either. So not only are you learning and you show that, hey, I don't know everything and maybe I misunderstood, but then that allows them to explain themselves and it allows the other person and share how it makes you feel, right? Be open with students, right? That actually kind of made me uncomfortable. So it could make other people uncomfortable in the room. Would anybody like to share about that? So I think there's lots of ways that you can open up the discussion. You have to address it. And then follow up. Follow up with both people, both parties are really important.
Thank you, Amber. I think we have a question from Ashley.
Hi, I was just wondering, what if you're dealing with somebody who the microaggression does have that intent behind it and they're just trying to be veiled about it? Do you still go through the same line of questioning? Because I have seen people that I know they have those kinds of views and they are just trying to be coy about their intention.
So, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it also depends on your own safety, right? If you hear a microaggression that you know, or that you presume to know that person is intentionally being discriminatory in whatever way, first you have to make sure that for your own physical and psychological safety, that it's okay, that it's even okay for you to even address that, right? So if you say, okay, I'm not fearful for my own safety, then sure, starting that dialogue with them is important, right? Asking them that clarifying question, well, what did you mean by that, right? And depending on how they respond will allow you to understand, or to create your own response from that, right? So it's not your job to change everyone's hearts and minds about the world, right? But it is incumbent upon us to at least educate folks and call them out. And I saw something in the chat, not in a way that you're pointing fingers, like you don't say that, but in a way that allows them to understand that what they said was hurtful or offensive, right? And some people just don't care, right? And there's nothing you can really do about that, especially in that moment. Some people don't want to change. Some people aren't ready to change. Some people aren't ready to confront the negative views, the hateful views that they might have. And that's, I don't know what else to say about that. Amber, do you have anything to add?
I was just going to say that sometimes you have to be willing to say, hey, that's not acceptable too. We have to, but it may not be in the moment, but I had something happen in a situation where I had to tell the person, if you speak to people in that way, you won't be invited back. So there are certain situations, right, where you have to say, well, this is not what this stands for. We don't stand for that in this situation. And so you can't be here if you are going to speak in that manner, because that is not welcoming to everyone. So, I mean, you gave some good examples of situation, but I thought I'd just add that there are situations where I think it is okay for you to say that is unacceptable, we will not allow it. And if you cannot deal with that, then we start going up the chain of, like, you know, the ladder of how we deal with those things, because they can escalate.
So before we leave here today, this was just an informal session on racial microaggressions. We could go a lot deeper into these topics, but I wanted to leave you all today with some upcoming professional development that will be available for all faculty, staff, and students as well. We have partnered with an organization to bring some specific diversity certifications to Ivy Tech. And particularly, we will have 4 different certifications that anyone can receive. One is a certification on unconscious bias. The next one is racial microaggressions. The third one is teaching men of color in community college. And the 4th is supporting men of color in community college. So those 4 certifications will be available hopefully within the next couple of weeks. I'm working with talent development to ensure that we're able to put that on our Ivy Lead. I always get that confused. Ivy Lead. And all 4 of these certifications are very thorough, very intentional, at least 15 hours worth of work in each certification. So be on the lookout for that. Also, just take a look on Ivy Lead whenever you have a chance to go to look at all of the diversity trainings that we do offer on Ivy Lead. We have a number of them. Please take some time to look at them just to get a better understanding of different ways in which we can provide a more welcoming environment for everyone. All right, let's see. I think I have some more. All right, so attendees, if you would like to submit any questions, comments, concerns, or feedback, please email us at diversity@ivytech.edu. We value everyone's opinions, and your feedback has been and will be helpful for us as we determine our next steps in programming. If you have any specific topics that you would like us to address, please let me know. Please send that to me as well. Next week, Tuesday, July 21st, we will be discussing disability etiquette. This is something that came up today as well. A basic understanding of disability etiquette can help make everyone feel more comfortable when interacting with colleagues and students with disabilities, and can help prevent awkward situations. Disability etiquette refers to respectful communication and interaction with people who have disabilities. Join us as we grow in our disability etiquette to ensure everyone has a sense of belonging. All right, well, thank you all for participating today. I hope to see you all next week. Have a great week. Bye.